Hey art gang, I have 4 watercolour abstract exercises for you today just to help you play and experiment with your watercolour paints a little more. So feel free to use these as either exercises in their own right, or you can use them as warm-ups for a longer session, or maybe you just want to use them as a way of testing out a colour combo that you've been thinking about recently. And this comes at a perfect time for me as I'm testing out a brush set. So this set of black Tulip synthetic hairbrushes has been sent to me by ZenART, and I'm going to be using them throughout this video as I kind of test them, see how they work. However, this isn't a sponsored video. I haven't been paid to do this video, but I was gifted these. The company did very kindly send me this brush set for free. So I just wanted to be clear about that, and I'll be giving my honest opinion of them as we go along and as I try them out. And this is pretty much how I test out any new brushes that I get. So think of this as a warm-up exercise to your warm-up exercises. And actually, to be honest, this is one of those exercises that you can just keep on doing regularly. It's like flexing your art muscles before you get into an art session. And I'm pretty sure that the more I do this exercise, the more my brush marks have kind of loosened up over time. They've changed, and I've discovered more marks that I can make with my brushes the more I do this. So don't overlook doing something as simple as some mark making as an exercise in its own right. Try to stretch your mark making and see what other kind of marks you can get from your brushes beside the obvious ones. It's also a good place to start learning how much paint and water you need on a particular brush to let it run and flow, or to get dry brushing textures. So you really get to know your brush by doing this regularly. This set has a range of different shapes and sizes to play with. So there's 2 sizes of flats, 2 of rounds, and a cat tongue, which is a lovely oval to a point shape, and a rigger, which is great for doing those long, thin brush marks, lots of long, thin lines. It's fun to have some different shapes to play with because I haven't actually played with a cat's tongue one before, so that's going to be fun to see what kind of marks I can make with that. Now for this particular range of exercises, I've just picked 3 colours to play with. It's going to give me some choice, but it's also keeping it nice and simple too. And I'm just setting them up in my palette to get started. As I've been playing with brush shapes, I'm going to extend that a little bit more for the first abstract exercise and go with that cat tongue brush. So the point of this exercise is to use the mark making shapes that are specific to the brush that you are using to determine the texture that you put onto your page, and kind of work out how you can sort of just build up an abstract just using the shapes that you can get from the brush. So this is a great place to practice your placement and play with composition. Try not to overthink it though, but do try to experiment with the placement of your mark. So if something feels a little uneven, where do you need to add a new mark to even it out again? Or maybe you want it to look uneven and it's looking too balanced, too symmetrical. Where do you need to add a mark to add a little bit of contrast? So it's a lot of fun, and you can do a few. Try out different placements of your marks and see how that works for you. You can layer up loads of different textures, different marks, or you could make it really simple. I love that pointed oval shape of the cat's tongue, and once my piece is dry, I'm just going to add some black pencil to highlight that shape a little bit more. This could easily be some fish, couldn't it? That's kind of what it's making me think of. I'm going to keep it abstract, I'm not going to turn them into fish, but it could be a collection of fish, couldn't it? Okay, for exercise number 2, for this one I'm actually going to start with some pencil work, just loosely drawing it over the surface, not thinking too much about it and letting some shapes appear. So this is a great exercise in beginning to loosen up and free up. So let the pencil just play across the page and don't try to be too rigid about what kind of shapes you get from it. Once I've got some pencil down, I'm just going to start filling out some of the shapes with some paint colours. This time I've picked out the bigger of the round brushes from the pack. You can fill out some of the shapes or all of the shapes, or maybe you want to play around with which shapes you leave open and which you fill with colour. Also, feel free to let some of the colours mix and merge or overlap. I quite like the contrast between the colour and the white space, so I think that's how I'm going to work this one. But you can do this exercise as often as you like and try something different each time. It's another good one for practising your composition with. But when you put the pencil marks down, try not to think of composition, and then when you add the colour, that's when you try and start thinking about where you want to place it. Now, exercise number 3 is about shapes and layering with watercolours. So you can go about this in many different ways, but the idea here is that you are playing with how the paints layer and mix and merge. So start this one with a shape, and it can be any shape you like, something you like to draw and paint. For your first couple, you can keep it relatively simple, and then as you get used to the exercise, you can make it more complex. I like circles and curves, so that's what I'm going to play with here. And I've gone back to the cat's tongue to get this one going. And I love playing with the thick and thin lines that you can get from a brush like this. And this particular one snaps back so quickly that I can go quite easily from a thick line to a thin line and back again without having to stop to reshape it. I'm also going to play with a rigger, so add to those thin lines with some more thin lines. So this exercise is a great place to try out the different brush shapes that you've got and see how you can make the shape that you want to put on the page with that brush shape. What kind of textures can you build up by layering up these shapes, these colours? You can leave it as it is, or you could add some more line work to it. I've actually gone with adding some more line work to mine. There's a bit of a theme going on here with the black pencil, so I've kind of added that in as well. Once the paint was dry, I then went over some of the areas with the black pencil. I really like how these brushes keep their shape. They have a nice snap to them, which means that they'll bounce back into shape, even to the point that reforms really nicely. And I personally quite like firmer brushes, and these are definitely firmer brushes. But with firmer brushes, it gives me the option for both sort of covering large areas, but also adding in small details, and I really like that. Nice to be able to do that with one single brush and not have to keep changing brushes too much if you wanted to add detail in. And I can see that these brushes will probably give me that option, and I think they might actually be the snappiest and firmest brushes that I have in my collection so far. And you can see that they can also hold a lot of water, so a lot of pigment and water, and you just have to get used to how much you need to load into them to get the kind of flow that you need. For exercise number 4, we're going to go back to the pencil line play again, start there. Try and get some marks down without overthinking it, just some random shapes, some lines, some flow. If you want, you could even just close your eyes put the marks on the page. So this exercise is again about being free and open with the marks that you make, and it's about letting go of control as well. And for this one, we're going to use the shape that we've made with the pencil in a slightly different way. So when you come to look at your pencil and you come to add some colour and some paint to it, you can fill in the negative shapes just as we did in exercise number 2. But I also want you to have a look at the positive shapes of the lines itself, the line itself, and see where you can just follow the line and have the line dictate where you add the paint. I quite like the swirl of the line here, so I'm going to highlight that with my placement of the paint and kind of just add to it. And I'm using the round brush to follow that line and add a little bit more swirl to it with a little bit of colour. So I did enjoy playing with these brushes, so thank you very much ZenART for sending them over. If you want to learn more about them, there are links in the description for you. Now, I know that I'm definitely going to be playing with these again. They are very much within my wheelhouse of what I like from a brush. And time will tell if they become a much used brush in my collection. But if they do, you'll definitely see them again. I think they're a good starter brush pack if you're wanting sort of something with a varied amount of different shapes to play with. I personally really like the springiness to them, the firmness of them. I love getting the point as well. I can't tell you how often I get frustrated with fuzzy brush points. Do you know what I mean? Often you get a brush, you think it's going to come to a really nice sharp point, you wash out the glue on it, and it's just kind of like a rounded shape. And they can be a little bit hard to get precision work from them and detailed work. So far with these brushes, they've kept their points really well, so I think that's definitely something I'm very happy about. We'll see over time how that goes. I did have to give these brushes a really, I think I had to clean them about three or four times to get the protective glue out of them. So if you do get these, then give them a really good clean before you start using them. Do shout if you have any questions about the exercises or the brushes, and I'll do my best to answer. Have fun playing with these exercises and let me know if you've got the ZenART brushes or if you've tried them out before. I would love to hear what you think of them. And if you want some more mixed media ideas to fill up your journals with, then watch these videos next and I'll see you over there.